Atlanta Dream are flopping down the standings, and a lot of talk about a possible flop in that game against the Golden State Valkyries as well. I don't think that was the most important takeaway, but get to that quick because Laeticia Amihere and Angel Reese on this play and out Amihere for a flop. And if you look at this angle, it's hard to see any contact, and then she goes all the way back. So just looking at that angle, you know, I would come away going, oh, that's an egregious flop. The only hesitation I have in plays like this is anything involving the face and an elbow. I want to be extra careful about calling a flop. I mean, Angel's just turning to get her space there. I don't think there's anything, you know, her elbows are up high. I don't think there's anything, you know, it would be a foul. I think a common foul. And I believe that's what it was called on the play. So one of the reasons Amihere doesn't get the benefit of the doubt completely is that she has developed a bit of a reputation as a flopper. She's done this in other games as well. She did this with Aliyah Boston and against the Fever. Fever fans were calling out the flopping from Amihere. So in general, don't want it to become a prevalent part of the sport. It's been a controversy in the NBA. I feel like there's some sort of course correction that can meet in the middle of just like, you know, WNBA SmackDown and a flop fest. But that's at least when you go to the free throw disparity, 23 of 33 were the Dream from the line, 13 of 17 were the Valkyries from the line. So the Dream nearly doubled up Golden State when it comes to free throw attempts. And what's the most, you know, tangible, effective result of how a game is officiated would be the points at the free throw.
Welcome back to WNBA Trends, where we break down what's actually happening beneath the headlines. The Atlanta Dream lost to Golden State 88-83 last weekend, and right now the internet is obsessed with one play. Laeticia Amihere's head snapped back on what looked like a minimal elbow from Angel Reese, a flop heard around the world. Everyone's screaming about it. But here's what matters. That play has almost nothing to do with why the Dream are falling apart. Let me set this straight, because what actually happened on that court tells a completely different story. And it's not about referees or one bad reaction.
Now, free throw attempts don't necessarily catch, you know, some plays that don't result in free throw attempts, bad calls that change possession and then lead to points on the other end, things like that. And then, of course, sometimes teams get more free throw attempts because they're simply more aggressive. They're driving to the basket more. You know, Golden State, let's highlight them for a second. Now 14-7. The Valkyries are legit. They're for real. They're third in the league in the standings, just a game and a half out of first. Gabby Williams, highlight her for a second, the All-Star, 19 points in this one. She's having a terrific, that needs to be highlighted. The Valkyries have done a really good job putting together a balanced team. Veronica Burton had 21 in this one. But the question then becomes, what's up and what's wrong with the Atlanta Dream? And let's look at the basketball aspect of that for a second. There is a bit of a personnel problem in Atlanta when it comes to redundancy. So they shifted Borlase into the starting lineup in this one, and she had 0 points, 0 of 3 from the floor in just 10 minutes. Naz Hillman still got 24 minutes. She had 3 points. But if you know, it was Hillman there, and they also have Bree Jones coming back, and they also have Okot, and they also have Angel Reese. That is a lot of players who occupy the same spot on the floor, do the same thing in different ways. You know, Jordan Canada is probably the only player on the roster who can play point guard. So they don't have any redundancy as far as a facilitator and somebody who can make things happen. And
This puts Cheryl Reeve in an impossible position. Does she trade away one of these redundant but valuable players to get the shooting and backup playmaking this roster is quietly begging for? Does she try to move a big and open up space for Reese to actually operate? Or does she keep all the talent and just choose a pecking order, knowing that somebody good is going to lose minutes and might get unhappy about it? That decision only gets harder once Brianna Jones is healthy, because the glut grows. The problem doesn't get smaller, it gets bigger. And you cannot ignore the human layer here, because it all landed in the same week that Angel Reese, Allisha Gray, and Ryan Howard were left off the All-Star starting lineup, all three of them. Instead, the starting lineup featured A'ja Wilson, Caitlin Clark, and Breanna Stewart. Reese publicly called it a slap in the face on behalf of her teammates. So picture the entire situation. You've got a proud, expensive roster that mortgaged 2 first-round picks for this and carried championship expectations. Now they're sitting at the bottom of a losing skid and openly disrespected by the league they play in. They're built in a way that quietly works against their own best player. The Dream gets Seattle next. The Storm are 5-16. There's a real chance to stop the bleeding, to get right, to build some momentum back, and a win would matter. But the deeper question doesn't disappear with one victory. So tell me what you actually think is breaking this team. Is it the officiating everyone's yelling about? Is it a brutal schedule that ran them straight into Golden State 3 separate times? Or is it a roster that was simply built wrong from the very beginning? That's the real story, not the flop, not the referees, but the design of the team itself, and whether Cheryl Reeve can somehow engineer a fix before this disrespected roster gets completely frustrated with the situation they're in. Drop your take in the comments. If you want the real breakdown instead of the viral 10-second clip, hit that like button and subscribe so the next one finds you.
Not as if Canada's at the top of the league in that regard, but so they got to extra rely on Jordan Canada. Obviously, Allisha Gray and Ryan Howard, you know, they are 2 top-tier players at the guard wing spot, can be streaky shooters at times, so that can affect the game. I mean, when you're 6-15 and you're Howard and you're 5-17 and you're Gray, that tells the story in a lot of ways too. But when I do look at this team's roster construction, you know, look, if Angel's going to play, everybody else on the floor needs to be a shooter. And Angel is really good at what she does well. She's having a really good season overall, 15 points, 12 boards, but she can't shoot. She can't shoot. She can't shoot threes at all. She's taking more threes this year, 2 of 21 from 3. Not even just that they have, you know, these are some of the better players on the roster. Naz Hillman can shoot the 3 ball a little bit better than Angel, but also not a 3-point shooter if you look there, right? And that's a problem, occupying sort of the same space. Bree Jones, when she comes back, also you're going to run into the same problem. And then you have, does that change via a trade? Is there another way to address it? Because I think once Jones is back, the problem could get a little bit worse too, because there is a glut of similar good players at the same position. And Karl